What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you the third and final deck from the legendary Arc 5 decks, and that is going to be Speedroids. So we've done Fusion in the form of the Loonlights, we've done Pendulum in the form of the Odd Eyes, and now we're about to do Synchro in the form of the Speedroids. Now arguably Speedroids got the best of the single new card support in the form of the Speedroid Daruma Knocker, which we'll talk about a little bit later on once we get into the profile. So I've gone with the exact same approach as I did with the other two, is that I've got a main, an extra, and a side deck, all considered within the budget. So whether you ended up buying three legendary, all of the legendary decks, just one pack, or whether you bought the decks individually, this video will give you everything you need to know. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Starting off with the brand new card being the Speedroid Daruma Knocker. Now, unfortunately, unless you get lucky with the promo and you get this as a secret rare, which then means you'd have a secret rare, ultra rare, and a common, you will need to pick up one more copy of this card at the very least, or you get all three in ultra rare, depending on which matching rarity you want to go for. What makes this card so incredibly good? Well, it's a level 4 tuner for a start, but if it's in the hand, you get to send a Speedroid card from the deck to the graveyard, except Knocker as cost, which is really important because some of the cards you can send can summon themselves as tokens in the form of the duplicate, which we'll talk about once we get to it. So, special on this card, also you cannot special on for the rest of the turn except win monsters, which is absolutely fine. And then on top of that, if it is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to add a Speedroid spell or trap from the deck to the hand. Then if you control a clear wing monster, you get to non-target destroy a monster on the field. So this is actually really, really nice. The fact that not only does it send you duplicate to the graveyard, there are other Speedroid cards that have effects in the graveyard as well, but it also then searches you out spell or trap, which could be Scratch, or it could also be the Speedroid Wheel. The biggest disappointment is it can't search out Speed Recovery because it's not a Speedroid card. Ugh, really annoying. But I am playing it because I still like the card. Then we're playing probably the most famous Speedroid card in the form of 3 Speedroid Terratop, backed up with the partner in crime in the form of the 2 Tuckenton Borg. Now, Tuckenton Borg, back in the day, the idea was special on Terratop, special summon out add the Tuckenton Borg, special summon down Tuckenton Borg, make it rank 3. We're long past that now, but the Tuckenton Borg actually serves more usages in this deck. Because on zone control win monster, you get special on this card from the hand, but you contribute it to special on a Speedroid tuner from the deck. Again, you can't special on for the rest of the turn except wins, which again is absolutely fine. And if you really, really wanted to, you could also consider utilizing the Totem Bird in your extra deck, which can give you another nice spell or trap negation if you wanted to. Another one you could also consider is Gossip Shadow, so you can open up the door to some rank plays. I decided to stick with just synchro plays, but that is entirely up to you if you have them lying around. Some of the cards that you can get off the back of the Tuckenton board, but also just general good one-offs that you can play in the Speedroid lineup, is the Den Daiko Duke, the Double Yo-Yo, Card Turbo, and Red-Eyed Dice. So, the Den Duke, banish it from the grave to special on a Speedroid tuner from the hand or grave except itself. The Double Yo-Yo is when it is normal summoned, you get to target a level 3 or lower Speedroid in the graveyard and special summon it. The Speedroid Card Turbo is if you can control a wind monster, special on this card from the hand. You can't activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except wind, again absolutely fine. Banish this card and one Speedroid monster from the graveyard, all wind monsters you control gain 800 attack. And then Red-Eyed Dice is when this card is normal or special, you target a Speedroid monster you control, accept itself, and then declare a level between 1 and 6 and manipulate that level so it becomes that level. So very, very good. You've got a level manipulation, you've got the tuner extender. This, of course, is the only one that isn't a tuner, so keep in mind there are ways to search it. The normal summon to revive, and then the ability to banish and revive. So loads of plays to make. Moving on to the Pendulum monsters for the deck, we're going to start off with 3 Marble Machine. This is your ideal go-to if you don't open up the Daruma Knocker, because this can search you out, the Daruma Knocker. So its monster effect is when it is normal summoned, you get to activate the effect to add a Speedroid monster from the deck to the hand. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn except wins, again, absolutely fine. The scale effect is once per turn. When your defense position monster is targeted for an attack, change it to face out of tap position, and it cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, even if it leaves the field. So a nice little bit of a defensive line. We've then got the 1 Speedroid Wing Synchron. So once per turn, you get to destroy this card and 1 level 2 Wind Pendulum monster in your Pendulum zone. If you do, special on a Clear Wing Synchro Dragon from the extra deck, and it is treated as a Synchro Summon. For the rest of the turn, this card in your Pendulum zones cannot be destroyed by card effects, and you can't special summon except wins. If this card is added to your extra deck face up and you control 2 or more different type of wind synchro monsters, you can send a Speedroid spell or trap from the deck to the grave. Now don't worry, this isn't the end of the Speedroid Pendulum monsters, we'll come back to them later on. These are just all the cards that are inside the legendary Arc V deck. So I keep saying V, Arc 5 deck, but this is only one copy as well, remember. Moving on to the spells, we play 3 Speedroid Scratch. This is a card you can very easily search out off of your Daruma Knocker, but it lets you send any Speedroid card from the hand to the grave to add any Speedroid monster from the deck to the hand. So just nice searchable, but only once per turn. I like to play 2 Speed Recovery. Like I've already mentioned, the annoyance is that it's not a Speedroid card, but it targets a Speedroid monster in the grave, special summon it, and then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the grave, you banish it from the grave, target a Speedroid monster in the grave, and add it back to the hand. It's not once per turn to do either of those effects, it's just obviously one turn that it's sent there, and then the turn after it's sent there. Then we've got the 1 Speedroid Will, nice and easily searchable, again thanks to Daruma Knocker. Discard a card, roll with 6-sided dice, special summon from the hand and or deck 1 or 2 Speedroid monsters whose total levels equal the result but negate their effects. If you do not special summon, you lose life points equal to the result times 500. You can only activate 1 Will per turn. Then finishing up with the Speedroid cards, we do play 1 Speedroid Clear Wing Wonder and 1 Speedroid Duplicate. So Duplicate, banish a wind monster from the grave to target a card your opponent tries and return it to the hand. During the main phase, if this card is in the grave, specifically during your main phase, if it's in the graveyard, you get to target a level 2 or higher Speedroid monster you control, reduce its level by 1, and if you do special summon this card as a normal monster, machine level 1, it is not treated as a trap card. Now the benefit of that one is that you will adapt your Daruma Knocker down to a 3, bring this guy out, you've then got access to a Synchro level 4, which when we get to the extra deck, you'll see how useful it is. The Clear Wing Wonder, target cards your opponent controls up to a number of different monster types among the wind synchro monsters you control, destroy them. If your opponent special summons a monster except during a damage step, banish it from the graveyard, target a wind synchro you control, banish it, and then return it to the field. Only use each effect once per turn, so just a nice little target dodge. Then we've got 2 Dry Knockbird, just a very nice wind hand interactor. Then a Call by the Grave. And then if you did get 1 copy of the Arc 5 decks and used all 3 of the decks, you would get a playset of Ash Blossom. If not, you'll need to pick up 2 more copies. Now it's time to show you the cards that are not inside the Arc 5 decks that you're going to want to get your hands on. So starting off with the biggest missing piece, I guess, from the decks, and that is the Speedroid Kernel Clackers. So this came out in Supreme Darkness. Its scale effect lets you banish a Speedroid card from the grave, place a Speedroid Pendulum monster from the deck into your Pendulum Zone. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn except wins. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, special summon a Speedroid Kernel Clackers as a tuner from your hand, deck, or graveyard. During damage calculation, if you're clearing a monster battles while this card is face up in the extra deck, banish this card, and if you do, that monster gains 700 attack. So you can see how important this card is. Why it wasn't in the decks, I don't know, but it's common and it should be very, very easy to pick up. More Tommy Foolos, of course, 1 will come in one of the 3 legendary Art 5 decks, but still get hold of a playset. I mentioned it in the Odd Eyes profile, this has been printed like to death right now, so everyone should be able to get access to a Moltommy Foolos. I do like the option of playing Sheena, the Twin Tempest of Celestial Thunder. These are currently £7.90 online and a little bit lower. I looked at kind of a more expensive direct website, but if you look at like Card Market and eBay and Tizia and everything else in between, you should be able to get it a lot cheaper. Why is this card so good? Well, it is a wind monster, so you don't care about your attribute effect lock. But the first time this card would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed, so that makes it very awkward for your opponent to deal with. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a wind monster, quick effect special on this card from the hand and then apply the following effects depending on what was activated in response. If it's a monster, you return all face-up monsters on the field back to the hand except itself. If it was a spell or trap, you return all spells and trap cards on the field back to the hand. So it's just a nice kind of field reset, which can be quite nice, but also a 2900 beta that can put in a lot of work for you and doesn't break the bank. I then still like to play 2 Win the Wind Charmer. It's just another way of being able to get direct access to some of your wind monsters with 1500 or less attack. And this actually got reprinted in the all foil editions for the Charmer decks as well. So discard this card and 1 other wind monster to add a wind monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to the hand, except itself. You can't activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except wins, and again, absolutely fine. And then when a wind monster you control is destroyed by battle while this card is in the hand, you could special summon this card, so entirely up to you. The final 2 cards is 2 Forbidden Droplets. As and when you want to, if you want to play Fallen and the Virtuous, by all means you can do. I'm being a little bit cautious because of the upcoming Forbidden Limited list. And I feel that with Forbidden Droplet, it came in the previous Legendary Arc 5 decks and the Legendary 5Ds deck and the Legendary Modern decks. So it should be relatively cheap, easy to pick up. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with our big old boss monster. You will need to get a second copy of this if you want to. There is a combo that gets you both of these, and if you want to see it in a short, make sure you get the video above 50 likes, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you. So your Crystal Clear Wing over Synchro Dragon must be Synchro summoned, and once per turn when another card or effect is activated, quick effect, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you destroyed a monster, this card gains attack equal to that monster's already attack until the end of the turn. If this face-up Synchro Summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, special summon a Clear Wing monster from the extra deck. Backing this up with the Crystal Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. So once per turn when your opponent activates a monster effect, except during damage step, quick effect, they activate this effect until the end of the turn. This face-up card is unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters. Also, this card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack. Once per turn, when a spell, trap card, or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. If you Synchro Summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by the opponent's card, add a win monster from the deck to the hand. Carrying on down, we do play the one high Speedroid Clear Wing Rider. So once per turn during your main phase, you roll 6-sided dice, shuffle wind monsters from the graveyard into the deck up to the result. Then you get to destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number shuffled. If you do, this card gains 500 attack for each. So this can become a very, very powerful boss monster. It does have a quick effect that during your opponent's main phase, you get to tribute this Synchro Summon card, special on up to 2 level 7 wind Synchro monsters with different names each from your extra deck. So again, another nice way to get you access to your Clear Wing monsters. We're then playing the one high Speedroid Kite Drake. So this one is, if it's Synchro Summoned, you get to activate one of the effects. Destroy all other cards on the field, negate the effects of all phase-up cards your opponent controls. If this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you get to add a Speedroid monster from the deck to the hand. So again, searchability, negation, or destruction, depending on which one you need, but it will bait out your opponent's field. Then one card that was missing, question marks around it, is the one Crystal Wing. You don't need to heavily rely on this card. It is a nice thing to have in the deck, but if this was to get on the list, don't think it will do, but just in case it was, let's play into it. You can just swap this out for any Synchro monster you wanted to. Another couple of cards you could consider for the extra are Dragoonity cards. And the reason you can consider the Dragoonity cards is that the Dragoonity cards themselves, as I quickly check exactly what they are, in the names of the fact that you want to go for the Link 4. And these can set you up some nice Omni Negates as well, which could be very, very effective for you. So the idea is you want to be looking at your Dragoonity Lord Yugioh, and then you'll be also looking at your Dragoonity Knight Lunin and your Dragoonity Knight Arius. So all of those will give you the ability to summon themselves out. And in doing so, well, not summon themselves out, but like equipped, summon themselves out and do everything else that you need to do. Carrying on, we do play the one Clear Wing Fast Dragon and the Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Both of these are in the Legendary Art 5 deck. We've then got the one Stardust Charge Warrior, just a level 6 that gives you the draw and the ability to attack all your opponent's monsters. High Speedroid Glider, number 2. So if this card is Synchro Summoned, you target level 7 or lower wind non-tuner Synchro in your grave and special summon it. If your opponent special summons a monster and you control Clear Wing, except during damage step, banish this card from the grave, increase the levels of all monsters your opponent controls by 5. You can only use each effect once per turn, which can be quite annoying for certain matchups, but you need to make sure you do that in the right matchup. High Speedroid Hagita, High Speedroid Puzzle, High Speedroid Cork Shooter, and then we've got the one High Speedroid Rubber Band Shooter, finishing off with the one Havel's Glaver, the Desperate Doom Eagle. Now again, if you go into the Dragoonity option, you'd swap this out, but what makes this one so good is it gains 2,400 attack while your opponent has no monsters in the graveyard. You get a quick effect to target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and shuffle it back into the deck. So it lets you manipulate your opponent's graveyard, which can be quite useful if your opponent is trying to recycle their Griffo or recycle their Skull Archfiend of Chaos. So there's a lot of different options you can utilize there. So most of the extra deck is pretty straightforward and simple. There's not a lot that you're really adding to this one, bar a second copy of this guy right here and bar a single copy of this one. Unless you go down the Dragoonity route, you're in a good position. Now to wrap off the profile, let's go with the cards for the side deck. So for the side deck, I've gone with 2 of the Santa Clauses. Again, these can be kaijus of your choosing if you wanted to, but the idea is with Santa Claus, as I've mentioned before, not only does this act like a kaiju against every other matchup, but it can also give you another edge against the Light and Darkness deck because you get rid of their monster, and because it's not a level 8 or higher, they can't return, or level 7 or higher to be correct, they can't return it to the hand and then get their ritual monster back to the field. 2 more Chummy Perulias. Again, if you bought 2 Legendary Art 5 decks or you ended up getting the Modern decks, 5Ds deck, you name it, you've got your Perulias. 2 Ghost Ogres, again, came out in the Legendary 5Ds deck, but it's just a kind of a good option for this format, especially when you look at stuff like the Mind Shuffle, but then there are other cards that, again, your opponent is so used to your cards being negated and they can push through, that when they lose that monster, they're kind of at a bit of an additional loss, or they have to re-juggle their thinking. 2 DD Crow, completely optional, do as you need to. 2 evenly matched, a Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Lightning Storms, and then to help you get access to these, you've got your 2 Trill Tactics Thrust. Again, remember, Thrust can also bridge into some of your main deck cards anyway, so it has double usages, but it's just a very nice, cheap budget option for access of stuff like Pot of Sloths as well. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. Hopefully it's given you a bit of an idea on what a budget build looks like. You don't need to be breaking the bank for this deck. Yes, it's a really, really kind of cool deck to play around with. And this is what I quite liked about all of the legendary Arc 5 decks, is that apart from Loonlights, which is probably the most competitive of the 3 of them, you have a lot of fun and a lot of different options. So if you were, for example, a father with 2 kids that wanted to play the game, this could be a really good option for you to get that, because if you wanted to play the game in general and you were already playing the game in general, you could have Loonlights, build that, take that to locals, do what you need to do, and actually do quite well. And then, as you're learning the game, you've got your Odd Eyes, which is a little bit more complex because of all the different summoning mechanics, but you also have Speedroids, which is the Synchro option. So it's just another nice option that if you're like, oh, you know what, I'm bored of Fusion now, I want to jump to Synchros, or I want to challenge myself with a bit more combo, you can go to Odd Eyes. So I really do like this deck in general. Like, I really like Speedroids, but I also really like the Arc 5 decks, and I can't wait to see what the next lineup of decks is going to be. I'm not sure if we know them already. I don't think we do at the time of me recording this video. But what I like about this deck is that when we look at the legendary Arc 5 decks, yes, they were absolutely amazing. At the time, the first reprint of the Mole Charmies, Ash Blossoms, everything, it was so hard to get that they sold out really, really fast. Then they did the legendary modern decks, and the legendary modern decks were legendary. Like, we had a delay here in Europe, which is a bit of an annoyance, which did change a couple of things, but overall, it gave you 2 nearly meta-ready decks in the form of the Sky Strikers and the form of the Mitsurugi. Sky Strikers is obviously looking a little bit better now, and especially when there's been some kind of well-known individuals that have done incredibly well with Sky Strikers. So you look at Leo as well, who ended up getting top 4 at, I believe it was like the German Nats, I want to say, with Sky Strikers. Obviously Ryan Yu going undefeated with Sky Strikers, bit of investment into the back of that as well a little bit, but that kind of gives you an option that the deck is still very, very good. And then you had X-Sabers, which is probably more of an introduction into Genesis if you wanted to give them a go, but also just an overall classic deck reimagined a little bit. Whereas with this one, you've got Loonlights, which was last year's 2nd place Worlds winning deck. And then you've got your Odd Eyes, which is, again, is a fan favorite from the Arc 5 structure, while also introducing you to Link Summoning, Pendulum Summoning, Fusion Summoning, Synchro Summoning, XZ Summoning. So it covers all of the summoning mechanics, which is, again, a really nice introductory deck. And then you have Speedroids, again, an Arc 5 fan deck, but this one lets you focus more on wind monsters and Synchro Summoning plays, so it gives you a bit more to play around with. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed all the profiles that I've done for all of these decks. I wanted to get them out as early as I possibly can for you guys, just to kind of give you a bit of an idea of what you'd be looking at, how to build them, where to go, and trying to keep the budget on a low, low, low. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.